Right, so good morning again. The number of participants in the meeting is still going up and going up and going up, but nevertheless, we don't have the time to wait for everybody, so let's start. So good morning again. This is session 6, ELG, European Language Grid and the European LT industry. And this session was organized by our colleagues at SayLabs in Vienna, Austria. And I would like to give the floor to Gerhard and Dorothea right now to take over moderation duties and chairing the session. Gerhard and team, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Georg, and good morning also from us here in Vienna. I'm Gerhard Backfried, and with me is my colleague Dorothea Thomas-Agnola, who helped organize this workshop. We have the pleasure this morning to have a set of, I would call them entrepreneurs, innovators, professionals with many years of experience in the LT business with us. And they're going to tell us their story about activities and how these activities might actually be a very good fit with the ELG. And without much further ado, I'd like to share my screen for all of our presenters. All of the presentations are in one slide deck. We'll change from one to the next, and just please tell me when you would like me to advance to the next slide. And a little word of caution also, we're a bit tight on time, so please do try and adhere to the timing slots that we all agreed on. So I will share my screen. Go to the full screen. This is all about the PowerPoint with the PDF. I think it's going to be easier. Okay. Screen. This is the set of participants that we have today, and the word cloud just gives you a little bit of an idea of where these companies and the representatives come from.
Yeah, Gerhard,
I think we're seeing the other screen.
Oh, you're seeing the other screen? Okay, then let me share the. You were not seeing the PDF. You're seeing the PowerPoint.
Yes, the speaker notes.
Speaker notes. I don't want to see. I want to show the PowerPoint. I want to show the. I'm sharing the wrong screen. Sorry. I'll try that again. Yeah, we tried it before and it worked fine. And of course.
But we did see the word cloud on the next slide.
Okay, is this the? Are you seeing the PDF now?
Yes, sir.
Sorry about that little mix-up. Full screen mode, and we're good to go. I will shut up and I will give the floor to Andreas Rath now. Andreas, please.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm also in Vienna, same as Gerhard. My name is Andreas Rath. I'm CEO, founder, and long years researcher in natural language processing, understanding, and speech-to-text and text-to-speech. I would like to share with you what we do here at ONDEWO. ONDEWO stands for On-Demand World, a good conversation between humans and machines all day long and all night long, so to say. We are a 4-year-old company founded here in Vienna. We've grown to 18 researchers over the past 3 years, and very happy to present here in the European Language Grid Forum what we do and what we research about. Can you advance to the next slide, please? Our vision is to build the operating system for human-machine communication. So really all kind of communication and interaction on a voice or text level between a human and machine is something we care about and we research about. Our main product currently is the ONDEWO Call Center AI platform. Here at the bottom, you see a nice little visualization of what kind of topics are within this call center AI platform. Starting from telephone system integration, speech-to-text, conversation automation, or natural language understanding, text-to-speech, and back again to the telephone. You can imagine 2 use cases here. One is when a human calls a call center, and the AI picks up and has a natural conversation with the human being, helps him, guides him through the process, answers questions all day long and all night long. However, also on the second use case is our AI can fully automatically call thousands of people at the same time. For example, political votes or surveys, up to in the medical area. We work with a German AI platform in the pharma industry to facilitate drug discovery and acceleration by calling thousands of participants at the same time to ask about symptoms. For example, also in the COVID-19 area, we had a large project in order to understand and survey people and identify which ones are COVID-19. So all of those kind of things you can do with our software. What makes us very special is that we develop every single component ourselves here at ONDEWO, starting from the software engineering part, which is telephone system integration with Genesis or UTEL or Unity and so forth. However, also with our three main research areas, which is speech to text, conversation automation, text to speech. And you can imagine all kind of things you can build with these microservices, starting with dictating things like only speech to text, or a chatbot, which is only the conversation automation, or a voice assistant, which uses the three components in the middle, or a whole telephone automation system, which uses the whole pipeline. You can combine all these microservices into one as you like. The second USP, what we have here, what makes us unique is, since we produce these algorithms, deep learning machine algorithms ourselves, we can modify it and customize it. So our USP is to have the highest recognition rates in the industry for your specific use case of the company. For example, medical booking in radiology area, or steering industry arms sorting fruits or parts, up to humanoid robot conversations, for example, Pepper and Now, which are produced by SoftBank, our partners. We also have this kind of conversation automation. So on the next slide, thanks, Gerhard, you see a little bit more in detail what we do here. What makes us unique in the approach is that we, since we do a lot of research, have a lot of research projects ongoing, national funded project with FFG, so Austrian Research Agency, Austria Economic Chamber, or even with the city of Vienna, we research algorithms in order to translate and transform audio speech to text on the telephone, on radio signals, and also on interactions with your computer and PC. Same text to speech, we produce voices ourselves. We have a set of voices in several languages, I think 10 different languages at the moment. And we combine the cutting edge research into the algorithms to build it in. So normally it takes us 3 to 4 weeks to get something from research into production in all these kind of three research areas. Next slide, please. Or last slide, please. Thank you. So we are very happy when I heard from Gerhard about the European language grid, because we believe that there was a big black hole in Europe, since all these very great research parts were done in the US. So by Google, Accenture, Microsoft, and Amazon. So to have a European platform is a huge benefit for the European research community to show off what they can do. We see great opportunities for especially small and medium enterprises in one, contribute, and second, benefit from the ELG. We as ONDEWO also submitted recently to the call, to the pilot call 2, where we want to build Austrian dialect language models and speech to text recognition algorithms, and also fully automatically conversation automation for the European language grid. So it means if you'd like to speak in Styrian with a computer, currently this is not possible. Or book a taxi in the countryside regions of Styria. For example, Ismobil is a company we work with. where old people in deep Styrian dialect talk to the person on the phone. It's no chance with Google, IBM, Microsoft. There's just no chance. There is blah 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 out there. So we want to build and contribute this knowledge to the ELG on the highly scalable Kubernetes service what they have. And this also comes to the benefits. We see three large benefits in the area of ELG, especially for SMEs. One is to transfer our products into highly scalable Kubernetes services. Currently, we have with our doctors where we do appointment booking, servers under their desk, which is not scalable at all, where we automate conversations. So having this in Kubernetes form would enlarge our customer base, would enlarge how easy it is to maintain our systems. Second is to enrich our products with self-serving capabilities. Currently, our engineers need to install everything from scratch, then maintain everything from scratch, which is very cumbersome. Yes, we have scripts. Yes, we have tools. However, it would be very nice if the customer can click new Styrian dialect conversation automation or phone automation or survey automation just on the ELG platform and just can use it or try it out. And we charge pay per use or so. That would be fantastic for us. So zero maintenance and the customer can decide when and where to choose. The last one is, I think, it's a reason where we think it's huge for SMEs because we can get a platform to show off what we offer and what are the showcases, what we can build on this European language grid very easily. And hosting fees, hosting costs, and to attract the attention and the eyeballs of the customers is very difficult, especially for SMEs. It costs a lot of marketing budget. Having a platform where the customer can say, look, this is interesting, I would like to try it out and just use it, and that would be fantastic. And not only for customers, but also for research partners. ONDEWO probably, some of you have never known about or never heard about. Some of you know ONDEWO very nicely. Yes, we are a young SME company with not much marketing budget, but having a platform like that would give us huge opportunities to reach a wider audience in Europe, which is our target market. So thumbs up for ELG, and thanks a lot for doing this massive and very, very necessary effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andreas. Very interesting. We'll move on from a smaller company to a company that's a bit bigger and well-known. Mm-hmm. And that is Deloitte. In this case, it's the Czech version. And I'll hand over the floor to Julius.
Hello, everyone. My name is Julius Rusnak, and I am the CTO of Analytics and Cognitive, Deloitte, Czech Republic. I will not spend a lot of time introducing the company. It's 175 years old, and we really do a lot of things. And just so that you know who is talking to you, I was always on a little bit of a low-tech NLP, low-tech semantics. I'm a designer and author of a very large cross-language semantic ontology when I worked for a previous company in the past. And I created a rule definition process and workflow to analyze openly available information. And my experience includes third-party risk management based on understanding, natural language understanding of data and large contents of client data, content validation, and data collection. So basically the background is more like down to business and implementation, simple and easy, understand the text, worst case, use the rules and just move forward. And I've been working in this field since 2005. So I have a large number of projects behind me. And now under the umbrella of Deloitte, I would like to show you that Deloitte is not only consulting and audit. Can you please move to the next slide? Well, where I am working, and some people don't like large corporations, but I am very happy to be a part of a team that is very, very non-typical, atypical for a consulting corporation, because we are actually developing something which might turn out to be the future NLP implementation solution. So we're actually really developing a software product. That's very unusual, very different from what the consulting companies do. We do it under our own umbrella, and we are investing quite large resources into this because we believe that there's a lot of future in natural language processing. That's why I was very happy when Gerhard reached out to me and Say Labs. So we have some very good relationships from the past. I believe it's over 10 years that we already worked together back then on a different European project. And I am very happy and proud to be a part of the effort, which is the European language grid, because I believe it does make sense. And this is really great. And let's see how we can try and work together. As I said, I have a big Moloch behind me, but I am very narrowly focused. And I'm helping the team, which consists of NLP engineers, to find how they can actually create something which has business applications, which can be brought into real life. And I'm intertwining this with the with the European grid effort, because as an example, I can tell you, we have a lot of people in the team that are not really Europeans. The main engineer, who is the lead developer, comes from the United States. So it is a true fact that we need to move this area forward in Europe. And being a European patriot, I really feel and support this thing. What we currently have is we have a basic level text extraction and processing already in 55 different languages. So we have the basic text manipulation, we have lemmatization, we have all the different things that we need to work with. And you know what? We are not afraid to use open source software, of course. We're using whatever we can, but we're putting a lot of effort ourselves on top of that. And we're focusing on something what we actually call third-party risk management currently as a case. So for that case, we are very hard working on concept extraction and text processing and on implementation of semantic vectors. Currently, we're working in 16 different languages, but we have 104 different languages in the pipeline. So what we do is we do not use actual rules or taxonomies in our system. We went away from anything that would be too hardworking for a lot of personnel, and we're putting effort into making things automatic and model-based. We call it full model-based approach, which enables to use any language to define the requirements. What do I mean by that? In the past, when I was working with rule-based systems in the semantics, we also used, this was before machine learning, we also used lemmatization and parts of speech and different other features of natural language processing. But when we wanted to capture the essence of understanding of a language, we had to make it individually and specifically in each and every language. Currently, the way we approach this problem is that we use a single language. It could be German, it could be Austrian language, of course, it could be English language, whatever the clients prefer. And we capture the inputs from them in their original language in a natural written form. And that is then implemented into the system. And that is actually matched against all the other languages that we process. So I'm not going to go into the technology, how we vectorize the texts and how we actually create models and what we have to train. But yes, there is modeling and training requirements in each language required prior to this that can happen. But when you have it up and running, without machine translation, we can actually take your problem in German and find it in Chinese or Arabic or Farsi or Japanese or in any other language. And it works reasonably well. We are already tiny little step away from a first real business implementation. So this is very exciting, and it's a very different way how we approach it. Thank you very much for the next slide. We are, I already mentioned these things. We are not afraid to use open source technology and building an end-to-end solution in the house. So basically, we want to be able to understand whatever language there comes our way, and we want to be able to get the requirement from you if you want to understand anything for your research, or for a client if they want to be looking for risks, and we want to be able to transform it into something that you can action, that you can take action upon. So that's our goal. That's how you would like to approach. Well, that's a little bit of boasting, and I'm really proud to be a part of that team. We can jump next, Gerhard, please. I think it's fair to emphasize European language grid again. I was talking to the SailApp guys, and actually it was my spontaneous reaction that I said, hey guys, if an ELG like you describe it to me comes to life, and if it's really up and running and working, then I would be very much interested, and Deloitte would be very much interested to work with such a platform, and to, for example, tap for experienced subject matter experts for consultations, to exchange knowledge, because it's not only about business, but it's also about moving it forward. And like I tell you, we have the lead engineer coming from the USA. I'm sure that we can educate young people here to be the experts for us and just move us forward. Also, we are very happy to take ready-to-go tools from whatever solutions maybe that will be presented even today or was presented just before me, and we're ready to have a look at it and try and see if we can work together. Of course, build cases together so that it is beneficial for both parties, or for all three parties. And yes, we would be ready and willing to share and tap into some data corpus if it is possible. So basically, I see a tremendous potential for cooperation, and I commend this effort very much. If I still have the time, I would like to just tell you very, very quickly about two particular cases. Can we go to the next slide, Gerhard? I picked two examples of things that we are doing, which are a part of our text processing. We do something what we call concept linking, and when we read text, we automatically tap into external sources to map what is inside our data with the external world, and see if we can actually create a link between a real world entity and that what is written in the text. I know this has been an issue. I've been working in the field for years. So when there's a person or a geographical location like Paris or Vienna mentioned in the text, for many, many NLP cases, this is just a string. Even though we of course use disambiguation and deduplication, and we of course try and make sure that an entity is referred to properly, the fact is that the system has difficulties to understand what the real thing is and present it to us as a user. So we're trying to map it over to Wikipedia and to actually say that Vienna is this Vienna or Paris is this Paris. And another thing what we do is sentence modeling, where we are not only breaking the sentence into parts of speech, but we are using advanced models to understand who does what to whom. So that's yet another business case that I was also working on before in other projects. So whenever there is a mention of multiple things, multiple subjects and objects in the text, what we're doing here is we're creating advanced models to make sure that the user can understand, for example, who is buying whom. Or there's a lot of discussion about sentiment. I myself was involved in many different sentiment projects, and then one of the results of the knowledge graph can be who is criticizing whom So it's not necessarily only bad and good stuff, but it could be the direction of it. So thank you very much for the time, and I'll be looking forward to working together. Gerhard and Celebs, you have my respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Julius, and thanks to everybody. We're a bit tight on time, I know. Without much further ado, Guy is the next. I heard him recently give a speech about disinformation, which I found very, very, very interesting. It has a lot to do with language. Guy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So my name is Guy de Pauw. I'm the co-founder and CEO of TextGain. And our tagline is AI that reads between the lines, and that's the kind of technology we are trying to build. Next slide, please. We are a spin-off of the University of Antwerp, of the CLIPS Research Institute. Fairly small team, but we're free from investors, which means that we kind of get to do what we like to do, even if that doesn't make commercial sense that much. I'll talk about that in a second. But at the core, we are a natural language processing company with a specific focus on social media monitoring. Next slide, please. A bit of a timeline. We've been doing this stuff for a long time now at the CLIPS Research Institute, and basically TextGain is a spin-off of two different projects. The AMICAP project, which investigated dangerous situations for children online and how language technology can help detect those. And then second, there's the pattern library, which some of you may know, which is also a CLIPS product, which is a Python library for natural language processing, machine learning, and social media monitoring. And it's those two projects that led to the establishment of TextGain late 2015. Next slide, please. Our core product is a text analytics REST API that does a whole bunch of stuff for a whole bunch of languages. For instance, we do.
Woanders nachschauen. Ich kann das jetzt hier nicht.
For instance, we do the usual stuff: language identification, dialect identification, but also more interesting stuff such as IPTC, media topic categorization in a variety of languages. We have API endpoints for grammatical analysis, some readability endpoints as well, concept extraction, named entities, what have you, geocoding. We also have a lot of sentiment analysis modules available, and our USP is the user profiling through automated computational stylistic analysis. We try to predict the demographic features of the author of a text. So this is our recurring revenue model. It's we sell it as in a freemium setup. You can register for free, then you get 300 analysis a day, and if you need more volume, then you get into the paid subscriptions. Thank you. Next slide. We also do a lot of custom natural language processing using pretty much the same pipelines that we use to develop the text analytics API. And then what we do in those custom NLP projects is take the data from the client and build some kind of automation step on it. We don't have any particular verticals. Next slide. We have commercial customers. We do a lot of governmental work as well. Next one. We also have customers in the media sector. Next slide. And we have some customers in the security sector as well. Then you're looking at stuff such as the forensic applications. So we don't have any verticals as such because our pipelines are generic enough to be able to fit the customer's data, except for the one vertical. Next slide. And that's the automated detection of hate speech and disinformation. And that's an area that we have been gathering a lot of in-depth knowledge on, especially in the context of a couple of European projects, as well as locally funded projects, where we built automated detection technology to find traces of polarization, hate speech, radicalization, and disinformation, all the nasty stuff that's going around on social media. So that's basically our vertical. When it comes to the language grid, our interest is manifold, actually. To be honest, selling the REST API as a subscription service has been tough so far, especially since so far we've been marketing it ourselves on our own web page. It's hard to find customers. It's hard to find that particular niche. We are now looking at Rapid API as a marketplace, but obviously it would be very interesting for us to have our API featured on the ELG marketplace. What we could contribute, well, I think that in recent years, machine learning has become much more about having the right data, even more so than having the right machine learning classifiers. In the type of work that we do, especially the societally relevant work, we get a lot of requests about sharing of data. Other researchers that are interested in getting our data, but obviously that becomes very tricky very quickly from a legal point of view, especially if you are looking at it from the point of view of GDPR. So that's something we could contribute data, but for us it would be interesting to get also that kind of legal support from the European language grid, so that we can be sure that we can do that in a legal manner. It would also be very interesting for us to connect with other vendors. We also get quite a few requests for technology that we actually don't have ourselves and that we're not interested in developing. So if we can then shift those projects to our colleagues, that would be very interesting. Okay, that's about it.
Thank you very much, Guy. And we're moving on again to another company from Austria. Thomas, floor is yours. If you could stick to the 5 minutes, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yes, I will. Hello, my name is Thomas Moser. I'm the data science lead at Prewave. Let's go to the next slide right away. So Prewave was founded originating from a PhD thesis from one of the founders, Lisa Smith, at Technical University of Vienna. Our goal is to bring transparency into supply chains. So we want to analyze that supply chain and sustainability risks. And for that, we analyze social media, news, blogs in many different languages. So our goal is really to go into the local sources, into the local media, to find risks. These can be risks like a strike or a demonstration where you really have maybe announcements and can detect them several days before. But it can also be things like an explosion where of course you cannot make predictions, but you can detect them. We try to be here very broad, really cover all kind of risks they can come. This can include also financial stress of companies, and but also natural disasters. But you also have positive or neutral events like investments or mergers. The goal is to offer a platform where people can register. So we try to be here very open, and you can register for free and get some freemium access to monitor your supply chain. And we want to bring some transparency here. And as you can see, the 50 languages we analyzed there, of course, you have a lot of different challenges. So a big part here, let's talk about the problems we face first. And we solved to some extent was the information extraction. So how do we process these different sources of information, and how do we get information out of them, so information extraction. But also there's the more specific problems like finding the correct date when something happens. So if you want to predict something, it's important to be able to distinguish here. So from a language technology perspective, this is one of the problems we work on. But all the other, throughout the whole pipeline, we had to find ways of summarization and of course translation at some point, because when you deliver the information to our customers, you actually need to, they want to read it in a language they understand, because we see this language barrier, overcoming this language barrier as one of the biggest issues we face. But throughout this, also verification is an important step, where we try, it's also, I mentioned it later, to have some feedback loops where the part of information we cannot process automatically helps us to improve the whole system and optimizes these the technologies we have. Of course, we didn't develop everything from scratch, so there are some, we rely on technologies like multilingual transformers, question answering models. We did some word embeddings also for text distances. So there's a lot of technology which goes into, and we try to optimize this for our use case to detect and process really millions of inputs a day and filter out the relevant stuff for our customers. Let's talk quickly about the challenges. I think challenges will make it hard. So the quality of these multilingual models, they are often very, they differ a lot per language. There's not really a universal system. You have some things which work really well in a very specific language, but then in another one, they fail completely. So this makes, of course, our job hard, because we don't have a really universal system. You always have to adjust them for specific languages. We face problems like unclean text in social media. If you read a tweet, or if you read a news article or something else, there's a lot of differences here. And this makes it hard. And the last point I want to mention out is the performance. We analyze, as I said, millions of things. You have a lot of options today with models, but it's hard to apply them to everything, because this takes a lot of computational power. So there's something we face. So how do we think that the ELG will be important for pre-wave? So first of all, we are based in Vienna, in Austria. Our customer base is also in Europe. So European languages itself, even though we cover the whole world, are very important to us. And they are also used worldwide, of course. We want to make the supply chain more transparent. So overcoming this language barrier is, I think, a common goal. And we are depending very much on resources of others too. So we see ourselves also as a user of this platform. We are a startup. We are now around 3 to 4 years old, roughly. But of course, the idea is also that because we optimize our system and have this verification where we really improve the algorithms, to also supply these resources to others. So we see ourselves as a user and as a provider for the ELG, and we hope, and we are very happy that this project gets started, and we hope to work together in the future. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Super. Thank you very much. And thank you very much also for sticking to the time slot, Thomas. We'll move on to Luca now. Luca, please.
Yeah. Hi, I am Luca Dini. I'm representing Radiant, which is a kind of new company in the domain of natural language processing. It was founded about 3 years ago. And the slide, please. And it was funded with the goal of helping companies in one of the crucial steps of their life, most companies, that is the cycle of new product development, which has, of course, an enormous impact on economic life. So we created the Voice of the User, which is a platform which identifies on the social media all mention of a specific product type. could be a bicycle or a cleaning, doesn't matter. For each one, it computes the aspects of this product which are most salient for the users, most relevant for its judgment. And for each one of these aspects, it computes the user attitudes, where attitudes are things like intention to buy, like enjoyment, enthusiasm, perceived lack of a specific feature, and so on. And then all this information is delivered to the customer during the whole life cycle of new product development for gaining insight, which might be crucial for the success of the product. Next slide, please. Okay, this specific task, of course, raises a lot of challenges. It's far beyond the standard sentiment analysis, because you really must go deep in the understanding of what an object is, what are the perceived features of this aspect, and what are the attitude, not just the positivity or negativity. So in this process, the biggest challenge is, of course, the automatic or semi-automatic feature extraction and characterization. We don't have a specific domain, so we deal from food and beverage to cosmetics to car and so on. So switching from domain and domain, switching from object to object, we always need to be able in an effective way to understand which are the relevant features of the object. Another big challenge in this domain, as we mostly deal with the social network, is anaphora and ellipsis resolution. Of course, when you speak about an object, you mention it once, then you just use pronoun, or even you don't use pronoun, you just use nominal phrases. So, and this is a crucial issue for us to understand when a pronoun refers to an object or when it refers to something else. And then, of course, but this is a future project, we would like to adapt this system to new languages. Currently, we are dealing with French and English, but of course, we would like to expand, and this is one of the reasons of interest in ELG. On top of technical challenges, there are also some market constraints. The first one is explicability. None of our customers would accept a prediction of the system if this is not fully explainable. The second one is modificability. Again, the product life cycle is long, from 6 months to 1 year, and it changes. So the system must change accordingly. So we need to be able to change it in an efficient way. And finally, rapidity, because of course we are dealing with huge corpora, and we need a system which is responsive, because of the question of the customers often need to be answered soon. So about the interaction of with the European language grid, we think that we could have 2 roles, as user and as provider. As user, we are mainly interested in dependency parsing, because all our system is based on this kind of representation, and as I said, on anaphora and ellipsis resolution. Of course, on top of technical of functional desiderata, we have also some non-functional constraints. The robustness, but after what Stelios said yesterday, I have no doubt about it. Scalability and efficiency, and again, after what Stelios said yesterday, I have no doubt about it. And third is configurability, in the sense that at least in this domain, just sending a text and being able to use the output is a kind of dream. You have a lot of parameters to set up on the processing module. And I think that it's crucial that the model of web service considers since the beginning quite a good parameterization and configuration model. So as provider, we could give as a service both our system of user attitude extraction and also to a further level an unconstrained system extracting feature in different and unseen domain. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Luca, and thank you very much also for such confidence in the ELG out of the mouth of one of the panelists. So yeah, thanks very much for this positive statement.
Thank you.
Next in line is Arno. Arno, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Arno Schaal. I'm the managing partner of WebLizard Technology, an Austrian SME with a focus on knowledge extraction and visualization. As you can see on the next slide, we do have the full content processing cycle, which I assume many of the other presenters in one way or the other have also in-house. We focus on 3 specific applications. One is WebLizard as a knowledge hub, as a visual analytics platform to ingest, pre-process, visualize evolving repositories. The second main use case is as a tool for digital newsrooms, for corporate publishing, to use semantic technologies to assist the producers of content. And then our traditional application, and where we have most users, is the use of the platform as a listening tool to capture brand communication, how different persons' issues are perceived in the online coverage. On the right side, you see the various data ingestion. We have our own web crawler. We go to the APIs of various platforms. We're involved in quite a few of the current projects in Horizon 2020, national projects. So we have most of our modules are available through REST API, which I think is also quite relevant, because after all, today we are talking about exchanging resources, making systems modular and compatible. So there has been quite a bit of work on our side to go into that. In terms of the NLP stack, we currently have it in production version English, German, French, Spanish, and Dutch. Prototypes of Czech and Italian. We do have our own evolving knowledge graph. We do various types of effective knowledge extraction, sentiment, emotions. And of course, given our knowledge graph, also named entity recognition and resolution. But what I really want to focus is actually, which I think is also maybe compared to the other presenters, we have a really strong focus on visual analytics and how we can actually visualize these global information flows. How can we visualize opinion leadership? How can we visualize communication success? And one example from our platform you see on the next slide, which was a system that we developed for the United Nations Environment Program that's still available. It's actually a public system that's on unep.ecoresearch.net, and on weblizard.com you'll find also the links to similar showcases. For example, we've done one recently to cover the US election, which was also a very interesting domain and very active domain, as you can imagine. But what you see on this slide is that that there are various ways to take all the metadata that we extract along multiple semantic dimensions and try to visualize them. You see this story graph on top, for example. So it shows the emerging stories over time, labels them with the keywords. On the upper right side, you see the geographic projection that shows both the origin of information, where are the publishers, which are the locations that are co-referenced in the documents that are being analyzed, color-coded tag clouds and keyword graphs, which are quite flexible because we use the color coding for both, for predefined topics, for automatically extracted associations that you see in the lower left corner, but also for various metadata categories like the source, the sentiments, the recency, emotions, in the upper left corner, you see this widget on the metadata. So this makes it quite flexible. And we also try to be flexible in terms of delivery mechanisms, because you see now the fully integrated dashboard, which has a certain complexity. It's clearly targeting expert users, professional users, but all these visualizations are also embeddable, which we then use in part of our European projects. You can take just the geographic map, you can just take the tech cloud and embed it in the third-party applications. If you have a web app, a mobile application, many of our partners have these applications and can then embed this functionality. Speaking of projects, on the next slide, you have not only a summary of our value proposition. The fonts are not completely okay. I hope you can nevertheless read it. So on the lower line, we do have on the left 2 national projects, and on the right 3 of our European projects that focus on big data. That's the Evolve project. We have indices, which looks at the impact of digital culture and how we can measure it and visualize it. And then we have ReadTV, which also represents one of our focus areas, working together with media organizations and how they can use semantic technologies to enrich their content and to make their content more visible. I'm really glad to be able to share our work today with you, because I think there's a lot of potential in the European language grid. We have several interests. On the one hand, as you can imagine, lexical resources and functional services, especially when we're faced maybe with new languages that we currently do not cover. I think there's a lot of potential to collaborate here. Also, of course, functional services for types of metadata we don't extract ourselves. Partner organizations, I think, both for research submissions, but also joint client applications. What type of services? Hopefully this became clear on the previous slide. We can serve as a visualization engine on both the content and the metadata we extract ourselves, but through the WebLizard REST API framework, we can also work with third-party resources, easily ingest them, mix and match them with our own resources, and then provide various visual means to make sense of the data in the spirit of visual storytelling. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Arno. Sorry about those fonts towards the bottom. I only noticed them briefly before the session started, but I think we see all of those. And you also mentioned a very important point. It's all those wonderful technologies and wonderful things that we're doing, but if you don't have a very good way of conveying this information, of visualizing it, of making it available to an analyst, to an end user, it is all in vain. If you have a REST API, it's not really sexy. It may do wonderful things, but it's not the sexy thing. The sexy thing is when you really visualize things. So I think that was a very important point in your presentation. Thank you for that. And now we'll go on and move to Switzerland, where for some reason, I feel that this presentation will have something to do with finance. So Martin, please.
Yeah, good morning. This is Martin Volk speaking to you from Switzerland. I'm a professor at the University of Zurich and also co-founder of TextShuttle. TextShuttle is a small company. We started it a bit more than 10 years ago. And in a sense, we both broadened and then focused the topics that we are tackling. In the beginning, we started off with the idea of building for the subtitling industry, because that's where we had some experience from before and some successful projects with a large subtitling company in Scandinavia. But then we realized that this is a difficult market on the one hand side. We did a European Union project, SUMAT, subtitling by machine translation. And then in 2015, we really broadened our view, and now we're building neural machine translation systems for increased human translation efficiency. And that already tells you that we are targeting the business market. So machine translation for post-editing, for supporting professional translators. Our current staff is about 8 people, so we're a small company, and the company is run by Samuel Leupli and Simona Todesco on day-to-day business. So next slide, please. We are profiting from the fact that Switzerland is a multilingual country with 4 official languages. I have the map here on the left. We are in the middle of the German-speaking part. French is to the west, Italian to the south, and then there's the small language Romansh in the southeastern corner. Only 1% of the Swiss population speaks Romansh, 6% probably Italian, and around 15% French. And nevertheless, many organizations and companies in Switzerland, when they want to do business in the country, they have to at least cater for the 3 big languages, German, French, and Italian. And so this is where our customers come from. So we're building tailor-made neural machine translation systems for each customer, specifically made based on their translations from their translation memories, and we are integrating the terminology that they have in their terminology databases. So our core competences is really tailor-made solutions. We're using the latest technology in neural machine translation, and you know that neural machine translation has enormously improved machine translation quality over the last 4 or 5 years. Our special competences in instant terminology integration. So if somebody enters a new term into the term database, it's available to the machine translation system immediately. In addition, we are very well aware, and you mentioned
Martin, maybe you want to turn off your camera because we are sometimes losing you. Maybe we could gain a bit of bandwidth if you turn off the camera and only speak.
Okay, I can try that. Thank you very much. I said that we cater for the banking and insurance industry, and they have the highest data security issues. And so we do on-premise installation of our systems so that the machine translation system is installed in the intranet of the particular customer. So we have a number of customers from these areas, but not only. We also have a big do-it-yourself retail company that is operating not only in Switzerland, Germany, but also in Eastern Europe. And so we will soon go to languages of Eastern Europe. And so currently our market is Switzerland and the neighbors. And we know that our customers have a fast return on investment. So we know that some customers within half a year are really making a lot of money, basically, because our system helps them to speed up the translation process. Next slide. Now, how can TextShuttle profit from the European language grid and vice versa? And I think 5 points are interesting here. One is by exchanging data, and I think that has been mentioned a number of times, and I'm very happy that Jörg Tiedemann has mentioned in the Tuesday session here of this conference that there's a continuous effort going on to collect translations of various types and to share them. Second, what we are doing here locally in Zurich, we have meetups where usually 100 people are gathering interested in the latest technology in language processing, machine translation. And we could very well imagine that we have international speakers for these meetups. There are physical meetups. People like to meet personally, but lately also they have turned into online meetups. And of course, we can combine them. We're doing continuing education for translators, informing them about the latest developments in machine translation and post-editing. And that is also something that we would like to share and that we would like to be able to do across borders. In the long run, we imagine that machine translation will be with text, but also speech. So I think text and speech translation will go hand in hand. And we are imagining that there will be no innovation areas. And in particular, we are interested in natural language processing for accessibility. So the image here to the far right is an avatar that does sign language. So we've worked on machine translation into sign languages and also recognition of sign languages, automatic text simplification, other issues on making information accessible to people of all kinds and with all kinds of handicaps. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much also for reminding us that language is not only it's not only audio and text, it also requires visual processing. And I think another point that I really liked, which you stressed, is and it fits very well with the ELG. It's not only about technologies, it's also about the community. It's also about the people who are behind it and the people who can meet on the ELG, maybe to do projects together. So I really appreciate that comment which you made. Next up is Antonio. I know he has quite a lot of slides. Time-wise, we're still doing good, but still, please try to stick to the time slot. Thank you. Floor is yours.
Sure, I will. Yeah. So good morning. Thank you very much for the invitation. First of all, personal introduction. My name is Antonio. I'm the CEO of the company, background mostly in computational linguistics. About the company, very quickly, we focus on the US market rather than on the European market, as you can see in the slide. And most of what we do, not everything, but most of what we do is around data, software for natural language generation, production of data for training, for lexical resources, etc. So we have 3 lines of business. One is around pure, let's say, classical NLP, so morphological generation, parsing, and so on. Here we work in 77 languages for morphology, 77, not 17, and 22 languages for parsing. We have a second line of business, the central column around chatbots or conversational AI, which is the fancy name nowadays. This is the main area of business for the company now. And finally, we have an area of business around, this is the most European, let's say, part. And here we do analytics, sentiment analysis for customer support, customer feedback, and so on. Okay. Number 1 client in terms of revenue in the last 5-7 years, we have been working in the US market for 6-7 years now, is Google. Number 2 is Apple. And number 3 is Amazon. We do for them mostly things connected to mobile platforms, so predictive text, that kind of thing. So things that have really a wide impact, wide installations, millions of users in the world. So it's a heavily tested and validated not only data but also technology. Next. Like I said, our current main line of business is around chatbots. Typical gap when you want to do a chatbot deployment is that you have platforms from many companies, even some of them for free, and then you have interfaces like web, etc. In between your Dialogflow or Lex platform and your users, there's a wide gap, which is training the chatbot. No chatbot comes, no platform brings training. Typically, this process is done by hand. It's it's hard to predict the accuracy, and it's done many times inconsistently across languages because it's done by different people. What we bring in this market is NLG, natural language generation technology, to generate training sentences properly tagged with linguistic features, etc. At scale, meaning that instead of having 100 utterances to train an intent, we produce 10,000. So that allows you to automate the cycle of training, evaluating, and retraining. That's what we do with the commitment to reach 90% accuracy for any bot in any language of the languages that we are doing now. Okay, very important. This works for any platform. Okay, so you can use Dialogflow, Lex, whatever you want to use. Next, please. We already have a very good case in the market. We have been working with Sarah for, I don't know, almost 2 years now, 1.5 years. We started doing only English for them and English for Ireland. So they chose the smallest country or market they could at the beginning to test it. At this point, we're working with them in 8 languages and 20-something countries. So I'd say that the project is a big success. They are seeing the return on investment. They are saving a lot of money, basically, in contact center people, and gaining a lot of improvement in the experience of the user, because they can support users 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world. One of the big differential factors that is being key for us to sell is committing to 90% accuracy in intent detection. Okay, that means that out of 10 queries that the bot gets, 9 are answered properly. We do that by SLA, so we have a commitment. The business model is monthly payment. So if that month we don't reach that figure, we don't get paid, basically, to make it simple and easy to understand for everyone. Next. So what do we want and what can we offer? Looking at Europe from the US, one of the things we see is that here, like everybody knows, our experience in multilinguality is outstanding compared to any other market in the world. I think we should be promoting that a bit more aggressively as a, let's say, as a sign of quality, of flexibility in the technology. If you have technology that can handle different languages, it's much better than the usual US company that can only handle English. So promoting that, trying to make this a really international industry rather than European companies working for European clients. No? We think there is an opportunity, obviously, to promote that. We need something like ELG. No? Our interest in this kind of consortium is around that, around sales and marketing. I mean, of course, running for European consortiums, that's a good idea. In fact, some of the technologies that I've described for NLG were developed under an H2020 project that we did on our own without the consortium. So we have difficulties finding good consortia. So that's what we would be looking for, is awareness to ease our sales and marketing process. I think we have an industry. This is all about export in the modern world, and I think we all should put more emphasis on bringing these technologies outside of Europe. What we can contribute, we have a couple of free data sets that we distribute as a marketing material, so people can have an idea of what we produce. So we could certainly produce and share that. And we have a very extensive API with software, the classical services, you know, from tokenization to sentiment analysis, phrase extraction, etc. In the, I think it's working now, the free API in 23 languages or something like that. No, also happy to contribute that. In general, if you want to count on us for, you know, driving actions outside or providing our experience in the US, count on us. Happy to share and contribute. Thank you.
And thank you very much as well. Also with the contributions, as you said, for example, accuracy on intent detection 90% might also be a very interesting thing to have in the ELG, which is supposed to, I clearly state this, supposed to survive this Horizon project we're talking about, you know, actually a platform working afterwards where people can meet, but also can use these resources for comparison evaluation, for example, for intent detection. I could imagine being a very interesting resource there. With this, we come already to the last presentation by Alexander. We're still going good in time, I believe. We have a little bit of overtime. Alexander, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, nice to meet you. Thanks for your time. I appreciate your invitation, and I'm very happy to about the chance to introduce Rutresco to you. One remark to the API discussion before. I've learned it very early when selling NLP solutions. Front-end cells and API sticks. That's the most important thing while selling artificial intelligence stuff. So let me shortly introduce myself. I'm Alexander, founder and CEO of Rutresco. I studied computational linguistics, and afterwards I worked and researched for several years at the Academy of Sciences in Berlin on NLP topics. And in 2008, due to, so to say, increased market demand, I founded Rutresco. So we develop solutions in the field of NLU, natural language understanding, and natural language generation. We have 75 employees, 35% of them are computational linguists, and machine learning experts. We're very proud of that ratio. So we are truly NLP-driven company with NLP solutions in the market and a lot of NLP installations in the field with live usage. And yeah, have in mind when doing and selling such kind of stuff in Germany, there's also a lot of pioneering work included, as some of my colleagues already mentioned before. We have about 120 customers in Germany, Austria, and Swiss, and also in some European countries too. And we, and also we support many European languages due to the international businesses of our customers. So next slide, please. As we are an ELG company, of course, we automatically create text from data. This process is called, as all of you know, maybe automated text generation or natural language generation. Wherever structured data is generated or available, our solution can create reader-friendly texts from data. These texts are of such a high quality that they cannot be distinguished from texts that have been written by humans. So we cluster the benefits of our NLG solution into two areas. It's quite important if we talk to big companies nowadays. There are two areas where we talk about. The first side is the left side, optimize. Currently, optimization is the main topic of nearly every company, especially in Germany. So always they try to optimize existing internal or external processes and therefore increase their operational efficiency so that the client can strengthen their core competencies. And our solutions also help you to understand your data better, to transforming data into easily to understand narrative descriptions, for example. The second side, the right side, is grow. Often comes after an optimization phase. In the second cluster, you find all the value propositions that support our clients' business to grow. By using NLG solutions, they will be able to scale their business operations and their value add, and to reach more potential customers and to improve customer experience. Let's move on to the next slide. As I told you, we have about 120 customers. Let me give you some examples to get you a feeling what we are doing here. So in e-commerce and retail, one sector we're serving, we automate product descriptions for some of the biggest e-commerce brands in the DACH market, MediaMarkt, Saturn, or Otto Group. For example, our solution for the MediaMarkt Saturn online shop creates descriptions for more than 240,000 products across almost all product range types in unique versions on 2 different platforms since 2 years. This is truly, nobody will do this job by hand anymore in the future in e-commerce. In banking and insurance, we automatically generate often regulatory documents. For example, the German Union Investment releases its employees from repetitive writing processes by automatically producing 400 fund reports per year. But not only regulatory work is done there by us, also cost-intensive jobs are done by the machine. At the Commerzbank, one of the biggest German banks, for example, Rutresco automates the creation of around 4,000 job references per year using NLG technology. In the media and publishing sector, we offer the automated content generation of data-driven news like weather, traffic, election, and sport reports. For example, we create 125,000 amateur soccer match reports per weekend in cooperation with the German Football Association. So every soccer game in Germany gets a report. Yeah? And last example for the German telecommunication company, we've built an open domain knowledge Q&A system for their voice platform, Hello Magenta, kind of competitor to Alexa and Google, Siri, and all the names in the market. So now you can also ask information questions about nearly everything, and we try to answer this, so domain independent. So you see just only some examples of energy technology, a lot of usage fields and different scenarios, huge potential, but Germany is not very fast in using such technologies. Adoption rate is low, but it gets better from time to time now. To summarize this here, I think I'm very convinced that NLP is the first transformational technology of this decade. Machine to human, human to human, human to machine, voice and text, language is the fundamental layer of our interaction. And if you want to support or automate such processes in companies, you need NLP technology nowadays. And what a great time for the ELG initiative. So last slide, what would we need from ELG, or what we suggest? 3 things from my side here. Of course, pre-processing tools, frameworks for different languages, updated and served with SOTA level, so state-of-the-art level, please. Support more European languages is always a huge topic regarding market share and also where our customers serving their clients. We need more pre-processing tools, easy to use from a commercial perspective. We've already talked about APIs, and developing this alone is often very expensive and does not make sense often. Yeah. Second thing, very important, training resources. We need more of this, a lot more language dependent data sets, unannotated, large data sets and small annotated data sets, voice, text, maybe video and image, different channels, mail, social, etc. And second, real world data would be great. So cooperations with big customers could be very helpful here, so that we see real world data. This data should also be usable from a legal perspective to train machine models which we can sell later on. Third thing, most important in my perspective, we need ready-to-use language models in Europe. In my point of view, really the most important topic nowadays from an industrial and European perspective, we need our own, so to say, European GPT-X. Yeah. And if this is not possible, because it's too expensive to train a model for every language in Europe, at least we need hardware or easy entry to a hardware, because this would also be, gets more and more difficult to get payable GPU capacity in the future, and it won't get easier. And how we can support the community, as the ELG community. So NLG can generate a lot of example text with different phenomena and so on. We've done such cooperations in the past and also currently with universities, with NGOs, big and small. We support them with generated content or our NLG technology. So yeah, free to ask us. We will help you. So that's from my side. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much for this enthusiastic presentation at the end. We've actually come to the end of our presentations and heard, I think, lots about Corpora, about smaller languages, minority languages, everything that you have here as well, the tools, the resources, how to share them, legal aspects, privacy, ethical aspects, and also about the community, finding others to do projects with, to do maybe evaluations with. It's been an extremely interesting session for me, and I hope so for everybody else who was listening. I'd like to thank the presenters and the participants of this session very, very much for all your input. If there are any questions, if there are any comments, we've put our emails here. Please feel free to comment and provide feedback. And thank you to everyone, and I wish you a nice and interesting remaining part of MetaForum 2020. Thanks very much. Bye, guys.
Great. Thanks so much, Gerhard and Dorothea, for organizing this session. Thanks very much to all the speakers. It was super interesting. I took so many notes. I need an information extraction system to get through my notes. My only role now is to break, not or maybe we are breaking for coffee, but we are also breaking for the virtual project expo. If you haven't been with us yesterday and the day before, in the project expo, we are trying to recreate what we usually do at Metaforum, a proper face-to-face physical analog project expo. We are recreating this in the virtual environment using Zoom channels. It's very easy, it's very convenient. So on the Metaforum website, the link is again here on the slide. You can also Google it quickly or go to the European Language Grid website, go to the Project Expo program to day 3, and now coming up with a small delay here, short delay. The Project Expo Zoom rooms are starting up immediately after we have stopped the webinar session due to technical issues. We can't do this concurrently. So in a few minutes, the Zoom channels will be open. You can join them using these links here for the following projects: NTEU, Marcel, MEMAT, Principal, DSDE, Provenance, Marianne, FedTerm, and again ELG. Hop into these sessions, talk to the colleagues who are presenting their projects, ask questions, engage with them, and then hopefully there's a good exchange and maybe even new consortia, new projects, new relationships will be formed. And we will reconvene in the webinar Zoom channel at 11:15. That's all from my side. Enjoy the expo and your coffee, and see you in the ELG channel or later on in the webinar at 11:15. Thanks so much.